No one could stop the bleeding until the human medic broke all the rules. The crash that changed everything. The emergency beacon pierced through the silence of space. Like a desperate cry for help, Dr. Nathan Rivers had been monitoring the distress signals from his medical station aboard the research vessel Harmony when the impossible happened. An unknown ship, sleek and crystalline, materialized out of hyperspace directly in their path. The collision was inevitable. Nathan felt his world spin as the ships collided, metal screaming against an alien material that sang like broken glass. Emergency lights bathed everything in red as he fought to maintain consciousness. When the chaos finally settled, he found himself trapped in a twisted section of corridor. His medical kit somehow still clutched in his hands. The alien ship had lodged itself deep into their hull, and through the breach, Nathan could see movement. His training kicked in immediately. Where there was movement, there might be survivors. Who needed help? He squeezed through the twisted metal, his heart pounding as he entered what could only be described as a living spaceship. The walls pulsed with a soft, pearl-like luminescence, and the air hummed with an energy that made his skin tingle. But what stopped him cold was the figure lying motionless on what appeared to be a bioorganic floor. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, yet undeniably beautiful in her alienness. Her skin held a subtle iridescent quality, shifting between pale silver and soft blue depending on the angle of light. Her hair flowed like liquid starlight, and her limbs were longer and more graceful than any human's. But what captured Nathan's attention was the pool of luminescent fluid spreading beneath her, a substance that seemed to glow with its own inner light. She was dying, and Nathan didn't hesitate for a second. His hands moved with practiced precision as he knelt beside her, his medical scanner beeping frantically as it tried to make sense of her alien physiology. Her vital signs were erratic, her breathing shallow. The wound on her torso was unlike anything in his textbooks, a jagged tear that seemed to disrupt the very flow of energy through her body. "I don't know what you are," Nathan whispered as he worked, "but I'm not going to let you die on my watch." The alien's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises that swirled like galaxies. For a moment, their gazes met, and Nathan felt something pass between them, recognition, perhaps, or simply the universal understanding between someone who needed help and someone willing to give it. She tried to speak, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, but Nathan couldn't understand the melodic language. Instead, he focused on what he could understand: her injury, her pain, and his duty as a healer. Working by instinct and years of training, Nathan began to adapt his human medical techniques to her alien biology. He used his biofoam to seal the wound temporarily, then administered a broad-spectrum stabilizer that he hoped would work across species barriers. To his amazement, her body responded positively, the luminescent bleeding slowing to a trickle. Hours passed as Nathan worked tirelessly, using every tool and technique at his disposal. He monitored her vital signs, adjusted his treatments, and refused to give up even when his equipment gave readings he couldn't fully interpret. Something about her drew him in, made him fight harder than he ever had before. As dawn broke through the viewport of the merged ships, the alien woman's breathing steadied. Her eyes opened again, clearer this time, and she looked at Nathan with what he could only describe as wonder. She reached out with a trembling hand and touched his face gently, her skin warm and somehow familiar. In that moment, Nathan realized his life had just taken a turn he never could have imagined. The woman he had saved was more than just a patient. She was someone who would change everything he thought he knew about the universe, about healing, and about love itself. Learning to communicate recovery came slowly for the alien woman, and, with it, the gradual building of trust between the beings from different worlds. Nathan had fashioned a makeshift medical bay in the least damaged section of the merged ships, using both human technology and what he could salvage from her vessels. Bioorganic systems. She had tried to tell him her name on the second day of her recovery. The melodic sounds that flowed from her lips were beautiful, but impossible for Nathan to reproduce with his human vocal cords. After several attempts that left them both frustrated, she had smiled, an expression so universally recognizable that it made Nathan's heart skip a beat. She pointed to herself and made a sound like flowing water over crystal. Then she pointed to Nathan and attempted to say his name, the result coming out as something close to Nathan. Her efforts were endearing, and Nathan found himself laughing for the first time. Since the crash, let's try something else, Nathan said, pulling out his portable tablet. He showed her pictures of common objects, pointing to each one and saying its name clearly. To his amazement, she picked up on the concept immediately, her intelligence sharp despite her weakened state. Within days, they had developed a basic system of communication. She called herself something that sounded like Vera, though Nathan suspected it was a simplified version of her real name. In return, she had taken to calling him Nathan with a musical lilt that made his name sound like poetry. As Vera's strength returned, Nathan began to understand more about her species. She was what she called a life singer, a being whose very existence was tied to the flow of biological energy. Her people, the Resenari, were natural healers who could manipulate the life force within living beings. The injury she had sustained wasn't just physical but spiritual, disrupting her connection to the energy that sustained her. "You're healing," Vera said one evening as they shared a meal of combined human rations and some kind of nectar she had retrieved from her ship's biostores. "Is different from ours. You use tools, knowledge. We use harmony with life itself." Nathan was fascinated. "Could you show me?" Vera hesitated, then nodded. She placed her hands over a wilted plant that had been damaged in the crash. As Nathan watched in amazement, her skin began to glow with a soft, internal light. The plant responded, its leaves unfurling and regaining their vibrant color. "Incredible." Nathan breathed. "You're manipulating cellular regeneration at the quantum level." Vera tilted her head, not understanding his scientific terminology, but she smiled at his obvious wonder. "You saved me when my song was broken," she said softly. "Your healing has no song, but it has something else, heart." The compliment made Nathan flush with warmth. Over the past week, he had found himself drawn to Vera in ways that went far beyond professional interest. Her grace, her gentle nature, and the way she looked at him with such trust and gratitude had awakened feelings he hadn't experienced in years. "Vera," Nathan said carefully, "what happened to your ship? Why were you alone?" Her expression grew sad, and she was quiet for a long moment. "My people are peaceful," she finally said, "but there are others in the galaxy who see our abilities as something to be exploited. I was fleeing from those who would use life singers as tools, as weapons." Nathan felt anger rise in his chest at the thought of anyone harming this gentle being. "They won't hurt you," he said firmly. "I won't let them." Vera looked at him with surprise, then something deeper. "Why do you care so much for one you barely know?" It was Nathan's turn to be quiet. How could he explain that in the few days since he had saved her life, she had become the most important thing in his world? How could he tell her that every moment spent in her presence felt like coming home to a place he had never known he was searching for? "Because," he said finally, meeting her swirling galaxy eyes, "some connections transcend species, transcend worlds. Some bonds are written in the stars themselves." Vera reached out and took his hand, her skin warm and slightly luminescent where it touched his. "In my language," she said softly, "we have a word for this feeling. Symphony. It means when two life songs harmonize perfectly, creating something beautiful that neither could make alone." Nathan squeezed her hand gently. "Then let's make beautiful music together." Their first kiss was tentative, gentle, a meeting of two different worlds that somehow fit together perfectly. When they parted, Nathan could swear he saw stars dancing in Vera's eyes, and she could feel his life song joining with hers in a harmony she had never thought possible. The healing bond days that followed their first kiss brought revelations that neither Nathan nor Vera had expected. As their emotional connection deepened, something extraordinary began to happen to their healing abilities. Nathan found that his medical treatments became more intuitive, more effective, as if he could sense what his patients needed on a level beyond mere scientific knowledge. Vera, meanwhile, discovered that her life song had changed. Where once it had been purely biological, focused only on organic healing, now it seemed to resonate with Nathan's technological approach. She could sense the purpose behind his instruments, understand the logic of his medicines in ways that bridge the gap between their two methods of healing. It's like we're becoming something new. Nathan observed as they worked together to repair damage to both their ships. His hands moved with new precision as he guided bioorganic conduits into alignment with human circuitry, while Vera sang softly, her voice helping the living components adapt to foreign technology. "The symphony is stronger than I thought possible," Vera replied, her eyes glowing with wonder. "My grandmother told stories of such bonds, but I thought they were myths." Their growing connection was tested when Nathan's ship's communication array finally came online. The first transmission they received was from the Galactic Medical Corps, Nathan's employer, demanding a status report, but the second transmission made both their hearts sink. "This is Hunter Captain Zaxxon of the Dominion Fleet." The harsh voice crackled through the speakers. "We are tracking a stolen Resinari subject. Any vessel providing aid or shelter to the fugitive will be considered an enemy of the Dominion." Vera's face went pale, her luminescence dimming with fear. "They found me," she whispered. "The Dominion uses life singers to heal their warriors instantly, to make their armies unstoppable. They captured my entire settlement." Nathan felt rage boil in his chest. The idea of anyone enslaving Vera's people, of using their gift for healing as a tool of war, was abhorrent to him. "Over my dead body," he growled, already moving toward the weapons locker. "Nathan, no." Vera caught his arm. "They have ships, armies. We cannot fight them directly." "Then what do you suggest?" Nathan asked, though he could see she was already forming a plan. "We run," she said simply. "But not just anywhere. There's a place my people spoke of in legends, a world where life singers first learned their craft. If the stories are true, it's protected by ancient guardians who will not let the Dominion pass." Nathan didn't hesitate. "Then that's where we go." Preparing for their escape required combining their ships into a single vessel, capable of long-range travel. It was a task that should have been impossible, merging human engineering with Resinari biotechnology, but their growing bond made it work. Nathan's logical approach balanced Vera's intuitive understanding of living systems, creating something unprecedented. As they worked, Nathan found himself sharing stories of his life on Earth, his dreams of healing that had led him to the stars. Vera, in turn, told him about her homeworld, a planet where cities grew like forests and technology and nature existed in perfect harmony. "I wish I could show you my world," she said wistfully as they calibrated the new ship's navigation systems. "Maybe someday we will," Nathan replied, though they both knew her world was likely under Dominion control now. Their conversation was interrupted by proximity alarms. Through the viewport, they could see the angular shapes of Dominion warships dropping out of hyperspace, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. "Time to go," Nathan said, his hands flying over the controls. But as their jury-rigged ship powered up, something went wrong. The bioorganic components began to reject the human technology, and their carefully balanced hybrid systems started to fail. "The ship is dying," Vera said, her hands pressed against the living walls. "The different systems are fighting each other." Nathan looked at the approaching warships, then at Vera, and made a decision that surprised them both. "Then we stop fighting." He said. "Vera, can you link with the ship's biosystems directly?" "Yes, and I can interface with the human components through my neural link," Nathan continued. "If we connect through each other, maybe we can make them work together." It was dangerous, potentially fatal, but it was their only chance. Vera placed her hands on the ship's bioneural interface, while Nathan connected his medical neural link to the human systems. Then, taking each other's free hands, they opened their minds to each other completely. The sensation was indescribable. Nathan felt Vera's consciousness merge with his own, her life song harmonizing with his thoughts. Through her, he could feel the ship's biosystems, their confusion and pain at being forced to work with incompatible technology. Through him, Vera understood the logical pathways of human engineering, the precise mathematics that govern their machines. Together, they became a bridge between two different approaches to existence, and the ship responded. Bioorganic conduits flowed around mechanical components like rivers around stones. while human technology provided the rigid framework that gave the living system structure and purpose. The hybrid ship leapt forward with impossible speed, leaving the Dominion fleet far behind as it jumped into hyperspace toward the legendary sanctuary world. That might be their only hope for freedom. The ancient sanctuarith world they found was nothing like either Nathan or Vera had expected. Kepler 42c appeared on their sensors as a planet shrouded in energy fields that made their instruments go haywire. As they approached, massive structures became visible on the surface, not built, but grown, spiraling up from the earth like crystalline trees that reached toward the stars. The singing spires, Vera whispered in awe. I thought they were just stories my grandmother told. Their ship, now functioning as a perfect hybrid of human technology and Resinari biosystems, was drawn toward a landing platform that seemed to grow from the planet's surface. To accommodate them, as they disembarked, Nathan felt the air itself, humming with an energy that made every cell in his body tingle. This place is alive, he said, marveling at the way the ground beneath their feet pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns. They weren't alone for long. The Guardians emerged from the spires like walking symphonies, beings of pure energy that had somehow learned to take semi-physical form. They communicated not with words, but with harmonies that resonated directly in the mind. Welcome, children of two worlds, the lead Guardian's song speech echoed in their thoughts. We have been waiting for you. Waiting for us, Nathan asked, though he spoke the words aloud. The Guardians seemed to understand perfectly the prophecy of the bridge builders. Another Guardian chimed in, its energy form shifting colors like an aurora when the singers' voices grow dim and the healers lose their way. Two souls will come together to forge a new path. Vera stepped forward, her own luminescence responding to the Guardian's presence. My people have been enslaved. The Dominion uses our gift for war instead of healing. How can we help them? By becoming what you were always meant to be, the first Guardian replied. Your bond, Nathan of Earth and Vera of the Resinari, is the key to evolution. You have already begun to change, to become something greater than either human or life singer alone. Over the following days, the Guardians taught them to understand and strengthen their connection. Nathan learned that his logical, scientific approach to healing wasn't lesser than Vera's intuitive methods. It was complementary. Together, they could heal not just bodies but the underlying causes of injury and disease. Vera discovered that her life song could be enhanced by human understanding of biology and medicine. What had once been purely instinctual became conscious and directed, allowing her to heal with precision she had never achieved before. But their training was interrupted by devastating news. Long-range communications intercepted by the Guardians revealed that the Dominion had found Vera's people's refuge world. The remaining free Resinari were under siege, their children being taken to be trained as living weapons. We have to help them, Vera said, her determination blazing brighter than her bioluminescence. The Dominion fleet is massive, Nathan pointed out, though his resolve matched hers. Even with our new abilities, how can the people make a difference against an entire army? Because you won't be going alone, the lead Guardian said, its energy form pulsing with something that might have been amusement. The time has come for the Guardians to take active role in galactic affairs again. The ancient beings explained that they were the evolved descendants of the first species to achieve perfect harmony between technology and biology, science and intuition. They had withdrawn from galactic affairs eons ago, waiting for the right time to guide younger species toward the same evolutionary path. The Resinari represent one path, pure biological harmony. A Guardian explained. Humans represent another, technological mastery. But true advancement comes from synthesis, from bringing these approaches together. You and Vera are the proof that such synthesis is possible, another added. Your bond, your hybrid ship, your combined healing abilities. These are the seeds of a new age. The Guardians offered them something unprecedented, a chance to become ambassadors of this new synthesis, to carry their message throughout the galaxy. But first, they would help rescue Vera's people and end the Dominion's exploitation of life-singers. As Nathan and Vera stood together in the crystal spires, watching ancient beings of pure energy prepare for their first military action in millennia. Nathan reached for Vera's hand. Their connection had grown so strong that he could feel her thoughts, her hopes, her fears as if they were his own. "Are you ready for this?" he asked softly. Vera squeezed his hand, her luminescence pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. "With you, I'm ready for anything." The rescue fleet that departed Kepler-4 to sea was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Guardian energy beings flowed around hybrid biotechnological ships, while Nathan and Vera's vessel led the way, its unique nature serving as a beacon for the new synthesis they represented. As they jumped toward the siege world, Nathan felt the weight of destiny settling on his shoulders. They were no longer just a human doctor and a Resenari life singer who had fallen in love. They were the bridge between worlds, the proof that different forms of life could not just coexist, but create something beautiful. Together, the new symphony, the battle for the Resenari refuge world, was unlike any conflict the galaxy had witnessed. The Dominion fleet, vast and imposing with their angular warships bristling with weapons, found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't understand or effectively target. Guardian energy beings phased through their shields as if they didn't exist, while biotechnological hybrid ships moved with an organic fluidity that defied conventional tactical predictions. At the center of it all, Nathan and Vera's vessel danced between the massive battleships like a living thing, its purpose not destruction but healing. There, Vera pointed toward the planet's surface where Dominion ground forces had cornered the last free Resenari settlement. "The children are in those containment fields." Nathan guided their ship through the battle, trusting in the Guardian's protection as energy beams passed harmlessly around them. "I'm reading massive biotrauma from the surface. They're forcing the children to heal Dominion soldiers over and over again." The cruelty of it made Vera's song falter with grief and rage, but Nathan's steady presence helped her find harmony. "Again, then we heal the healers," she said with quiet determination. Their ship landed in the midst of the Dominion camp like a seed taking root in poisoned soil. As soon as they disembarked, Nathan and Vera moved with purpose, their combined abilities allowing them to work miracles that neither could have achieved alone. The Resenari children, some barely old enough to sing their first life songs, were exhausted and traumatized from forced healing. But as Nathan's medical knowledge combined with Vera's natural empathy, they found ways to restore not just physical strength, but emotional and spiritual wholeness. "How?" asked Liren, an elder Resenari who had been forced to watch her grandchildren suffer. "Your healing sings with both logic and harmony, because healing isn't about choosing between science and nature," Nathan explained as he worked alongside Vera to restore a young life singer's voice. "It's about understanding that they're both part of the same symphony." Word of their success spread quickly through the Resenari settlement and then beyond. Dominion soldiers, many of whom had been as much victims of their empire's brutality as its enforcers, began to lay down their weapons and ask for healing themselves. They had been conditioned to see strength only in conquest, but Nathan and Vera showed them another way. As the battle in space turned in favor of the Guardians and their allies, something unprecedented happened on the planet's surface. Dominion and Resenari began working together, human logic helping to optimize life singer techniques, while Resenari intuition guided human technology toward more sustainable applications. Captain Zaxxon, the Dominion hunter who had pursued Vera across the galaxy, finally cornered them in the settlement's heart. His cybernetic enhancements gleamed as he raised his weapon, but something made him hesitate. "You're the fugitive life singer," he said, his voice distorted by artificial vocal cords. "You've caused the Empire significant losses. I've shown people there's another way." Vera replied calmly, her hand finding Nathan's. "Your soldiers are choosing healing over hurting, creation over destruction." Zaxxon's weapon wavered. Nathan could see the conflict in the captain's eyes, human eyes. He realized, partially hidden by cybernetic implants. "The Empire made me strong," Zaxxon said. But there was doubt in his voice. "The Empire made you a tool," Nathan said gently. "But tools can choose to build instead of destroy." What happened next would become legend among both humans and Resenari. Vera began to sing, not the complex melodies of life singing, but something simpler, a lullaby her grandmother had taught. Her Nathan joined in, not with his voice, but with his presence. his unwavering belief in the power of compassion over conquest. The song reached something deep within Zaxxon, some part of himself he had thought the Empire's conditioning had destroyed forever. His weapon clattered to the ground as he fell to his knees, cybernetic tears streaming down his scarred face. "I remember," he whispered. "I remember who I was before they changed me." In the aftermath of the battle, as Dominion forces either fled or asked to be healed of their conditioning, Nathan and Vera found themselves at the center of something extraordinary. Representatives from dozens of species came to witness the synthesis they had achieved, to learn how scientific knowledge and intuitive wisdom could work together. The Galactic Medical Corps officially recognized their new healing techniques, while the Resinari Council invited human doctors to study alongside life singers. Trade agreements were replaced by knowledge-sharing treaties, and military alliances gave way to cooperative research initiatives. But for Nathan and Vera, the greatest victory was personal, standing together in the crystal garden that the Resinari children had grown around their hybrid ship. They watched as flowers that should never have been able to exist bloomed in impossible colors, human genetics guided by Resinari life song, creating beauty that neither species could have imagined. Alone. "We did it," Nathan said softly, his arm around Vera's waist as she leaned against him, her luminescence painting both of them in gentle starlight. "We began it," Vera corrected with a smile. "This is just the first movement of a symphony that will play across the galaxy." Above them, the stars themselves seemed to pulse in rhythm with their joined heartbeats, and Nathan knew that their love story was also the beginning of a new chapter for all sentient life. They had proven that differences weren't barriers to overcome but instruments to be combined in the greatest symphony of all, the music of unity, understanding, and hope. As they held each other under alien constellations, Nathan and Vera knew that their greatest healing had been learning to see strength not in standing alone, but in harmonizing together, and in that harmony, the future sang with infinite possibility.